Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and I'm joined, as always, by our resident expert. And today we are doing a reality check on the state of AI.
Glad to be here. And yeah, reality check is definitely the right phrase for what we're looking at today.
Because I was looking at this chart this morning, and the main source for our deep dive today, and honestly, it looks broken.
It really does look like a mistake, doesn't it?
It's a map of AI adoption for February 2026, and it's basically empty. Just this massive wall of stat. I actually checked the timestamp twice because I thought I was looking at data from maybe 2022 or something.
Right, but that static you're seeing, that is the actual reality on the ground right now.
But that's what I'm struggling with. I mean, we are in 2026. We've had years of this hype machine just running at full throttle. My whole LinkedIn feed is nothing but agents and automation and workflows.
Oh yeah, the feed is relentless.
And my friends are using it to plan trips and draft emails. And yet you bring me this high-density data visualization titled, each dot is roughly 3.2 million people, and like 84% of it is just gray, the dead zone.
Yeah, that cognitive dissonance you're feeling right now, that is the entire point of us looking at the source material. We are all trapped in this massive echo chamber.
Okay.
So let's break down the visual structure for everyone listening. The visualization is a grid of 2,500 dots, and together those dots represent the entire human population, so about 8.1 billion people.
Yeah, so every single dot is about 3.2 million people.
Exactly, and that massive wall of gray that you mentioned, that 84%, that represents roughly 6.8 billion people.
6.8 billion.
Yes, 6.8 billion people who have never used an AI tool. Not even once.
Never. I mean, are we counting accidental usage? Like if someone does a Google search and it spits out an AI summary at the top of the page?
No, we're talking about intentional usage here.
All right.
Logging into a service, typing a prompt, actually engaging with a model directly. 6.8 billion people are completely outside the AI ecosystem. That just feels impossible to me. I mean, you look at how fast smartphones saturated the market, or how social media took over the world in what a decade. Why is this curve so flat for the vast majority of humanity?
Well, because AI isn't really a consumer product yet. Not in the way a smartphone is.
What do you mean by that?
It's a utility that thinks it's a consumer product. Think about the internet back in, say, the mid-90s.
Okay.
You might have had it. I might have had it. But your grandmother definitely didn't have it.
Right, or your mechanic.
Exactly. It was a nerd thing or a very specific business tool. And the data shows we are still very much in that phase, despite what all the slick marketing tells you.
So basically, we're living in a bubble.
A completely hermetically sealed bubble. I mean, if you are listening to this deep dive right now, you are a statistical anomaly.
Because we're talking about it.
Right. The fact that you even know what a context window is or what an AI agent does puts you in the absolute top percentile of informed users. The people in those gray dots, they aren't hostile to AI.
They just don't care. It hasn't solved a tangible problem for them yet.
Man, that is a heavy realization. I just want to visualize this scale for a second because saying 84% is just throwing a number out there.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Right. But on this chart, each dot is 3.2 million people. So if I'm scrolling through this grid on my phone, how long am I scrolling past gray dots before I hit literally any other color?
A really long time. You are swiping past the entire populations of major countries one after another, and it's all just gray. You would probably get bored and close the tab before you even hit the first green dot.
Which brings us to the green band. This is the only actual splash of color on the map that you can see without squinting.
Right, the green band. This group is roughly 1.3 billion people, so about 16% of the global population.
And the label for this group is free chatbot user.
Exactly. This is what we call the mainstream users, the free tier economy. These represent the people who have gone out and signed up for ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever the local equivalent is in their region.
So they have an account. They've actually logged in.
Yes. They've logged in, but they haven't committed financially.
They aren't paying a dime.
No. And this is where the nuance of the data becomes really important. You might look at 1.3 billion users, which, by the way, is roughly the population of a large continent, and think, wow, look at that mass adoption.
It sounds huge.
It does, but in software terms, these users are often considered tourists.
Tourists? That seems a bit harsh, doesn't it? I mean, I use the free tier for stuff all the time.
It's not a knock on their intelligence. It's about integration. Think about what a tourist does. A tourist visits a place, they look around, they take a few photos, and then they leave.
Ah, okay. They don't live there.
Precisely. They don't live
Yeah.
there. And the usage data for this green group usually shows extremely high churn. They use the tool to write a wedding toast, or maybe cheat on a homework assignment, or summarize a really long email from their boss.
So it's replacement behavior.
Exactly that. They are using AI to do things they used to do with Google search or Wikipedia. It's basically just a slightly better mousetrap for information retrieval.
They aren't setting up complex workflows or whatever.
No, they aren't using agentic workflows. They aren't building systems. They are treating it like a magic 8-ball. You ask a question, you get an answer, you close the app.
Okay, so for 16% of the world, AI is basically a vitamin. It's nice to have. It might make things a little easier,
Yeah.
but it's not a painkiller.
That is the perfect analogy. And that distinction between a vitamin and a painkiller perfectly explains the next part of the chart, which is, frankly, the most shocking economic indicator I think I've seen in years.
I'm talking about the cliff.
The cliff.
Okay.
The massive drop-off where we go from 1.3 billion free users down to the yellow sliver.
And the numbers here are just brutal. I actually had to double check them when I first read the source material. We dropped from billions of people down to, 15 to 25 million people?
That's it. 15 to 25 million. That is the entire global paid market.
That's 0.3% of the human population. Hold on, let's just pause on that. You are telling me that after billions and billions of dollars in venture capital investment, after building infinite server farms, after tech giants making nuclear power deals just to run their data centers, only 0.3% of humans find enough value to pay $20 a month for it.
It's wild, isn't it? It forces us to confront what analysts call the value gap. The tech industry, and honestly probably you and I, assume that the value of these AI tools is basically infinite.
Because we see what he can do.
Right, we think, look at this. It writes code, it plans schedules, it acts like a superbrain. But the broader market is looking at it and saying, yeah, that's neat, but is it worth the price of my Netflix subscription?
And 99.7% of people are currently saying no.
Emphatically no.
That has to be a disaster for the business model, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you sustain that level of infrastructure costs with such a tiny paying user base?
It is definitely a massive wake-up call for the industry. It suggests that for the vast majority of people, the difference between the free stuff, let's say GPT-4 level models, and the paid stuff isn't tangible enough to make them open their wallet.
The free tier is just too good. Or
Right.
maybe it's just that pro use cases are much rarer than we think.
I think you just hit on the deeper insight there. Who is actually paying that standard $20 a month subscription? It's a professional who gains $200 a month in productivity.
Right. ROI has to be obvious.
Exactly. This yellow group, these are the power users. These are the people who have deeply integrated AI into their actual economic output. It's like paying for a premium software license or a gym membership you actually use.
So if you're sitting in that yellow sliver,
Hmm.
you aren't just a casual user. You're effectively a cyborg in the modern workforce. You are augmented.
You're leveraging the tool to do things you simply couldn't do alone, or you're doing them 10 times faster. You've transitioned from playing around to using it for real life and work. But this group is incredibly exclusive. Like we said, 15 to 25 million people. That's smaller than the population of Texas.
Globally.
Globally.
I really think we need to linger on that for a second for the listener, because we hear this narrative constantly, right? AI is coming for everyone's jobs. It's going to replace all of us. But if only 0.3% of people are actually using the pro-level tools, isn't that threat just a little overblown?
Or it's the exact opposite.
How so?
Maybe the threat is magnified precisely because those 0.3% have such an asymmetrical advantage. Think about it. If I'm in the yellow group and I can outproduce 10 people in the green group because I have better tools and I know how to use them, I don't need the AI to replace them. I just render them obsolete myself.
Wow. So the yellows are basically the new elite.
They are the digitally sovereign class. They have agency over their workflows. The greens are consumers. The yellows are producers. But even the yellows are still just using the tools that someone else built. They aren't the ones making the rules.
Which perfectly leads us to the final section of this chart. And it is a microscopic speck, the red dot.
The red dot, literally if you blink, you miss it. It is tucked away at the very bottom right corner of the grid.
And the data point here is 2 to 5 million people, so about 0.04% of the global population.
And the label for this tiny dot is uses coding scaffold.
Okay, let's strip away the technical jargon for a second. We aren't just talking about people who took a boot camp and know a little Python,
No,
right?
no, no, no. We are talking about engineers who are actively using AI to generate complex software architecture. These are the architects of our reality. They are leveraging AI not to write a polite email to a client, but to construct the digital infrastructure that the other 8 billion people are eventually going to live and work inside.
See, this is what actually scares me off the chart. You have 0.04% of the human population building the digital infrastructure
Yeah.
for literally everyone else. That seems incredibly top-heavy.
It is the ultimate form of leverage. Look, in the past, if you wanted to build a massive global software platform, you needed a huge team. You needed 50 or 100 engineers. You needed a whole corporate structure. Now, you might just need one Red Dot engineer and a really sophisticated AI scaffold to do the work of 50 people.
So that old Silicon Valley concept of the 10x engineer,
Yeah,
it's completely dead. Now we're looking at the 1000x engineer.
exactly. And that concentration of leverage is completely unprecedented in human history. We are looking at a pyramid structure where the tip is razor thin. This tiny, tiny elite group decides how the algorithms actually work. They decide what the chatbots refuse to say. They decide how our personal data is processed.
I mean, everyone else, the yellows, the greens, and especially that massive sea of grays, we're just living in the house they built.
We're living in it, and we're paying rent. Or in the case of the green free tier users, we're paying with our attention and our data.
It really reframes that whole learn-to-code movement we saw pushing through the culture a few years ago.
It really does, because now learning to code isn't about memorizing syntax, it's about orchestration. The people in that red dot aren't typing out lines of code manually all day. They are conducting an orchestra of AI agents to build software for them. It's a completely higher order skill.
I want to zoom out for a second and look at the whole picture again, connecting the dots, so to speak, because the timestamp on this is February 2026. AI is no longer the shiny new thing.
Right, the novelty is worn off.
It's been around.
Yeah.
Yet the adoption is just so heavily stratified, it really proves that AI is not a universal utility yet. It's not electricity, it's not the internet. It's still a niche tool for the vast majority.
Let's try that thought experiment we discussed during the pre-show. I think it really helps ground the numbers in something tangible.
The banquet hall analogy. Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so imagine we take 2,500 completely random people from all around the planet, and we shove all of them into a giant convention center banquet hall.
So this represents the full grid on our chart.
Yeah.
2,500 dots equals 2,500 people.
Exactly. So you walk into this massive room and you want to find the people who are actually building the future, the people using the coding scaffolds. You want to find the red dot. How many people are you looking for?
Just one.
Statistically, yes. There is exactly one person in that entire crowded room of 2,500 people who is actually building AI-driven software.
That one guy is probably completely swamped. Okay, so I walk past him, and I want to find the people who are the serious power users, the people paying the $20 a month, the yellows.
You would find maybe 7 people.
7 out of 2,500.
7 people huddled together at a table in the corner talking passionately about prompt engineering and API workflows.
Wow. Okay, and what about the people who have dabbled? The tourists on the free tier, the greens.
That's a slightly bigger group, about 400 people. They're probably standing around the buffet tables chatting, maybe showing each other a funny picture a chatbot generated or asking it a trivia question.
And the rest of the room,
Yeah.
the remaining 2,000 plus people.
They are completely oblivious to the other groups. They're talking about their kids, they're talking about their jobs, sports, politics, what's for dinner. They aren't thinking about AI at all. It is simply not a factor in their daily lives.
That ratio is just staggering when you lay it out like that. 1 builder, 7 pros, 400 tourists, and 2,000 completely oblivious bystanders. That completely destroys the narrative that we're all somehow falling behind.
Completely. If you are paying for an AI subscription today, you are in the top 0.3% of early adopters. You aren't late to the party. You are weirdly early. You are practically a pioneer on the frontier.
But doesn't that imply a failure on the part of the tech industry? I mean, if the technology is truly as revolutionary as they claim, why is the banquet hall mostly empty when it comes to serious use?
Well, that is the multi-trillion-dollar question right now. Is the room empty because we are just genuinely early in the adoption cycle? Or is it empty because the product itself isn't actually that useful for the average human being?
Ouch. That's definitely the pessimist take.
I'd call it the realist's take. Look,
Yeah.
Silicon Valley inherently builds tools for Silicon Valley. They build tools for people who sit at desks in ergonomic chairs and manipulate text and data all day long, and that's exactly what the yellow sliver represents. But most people on Earth don't do that for a living. Most people move physical atoms, they deal with other people face to face, they fix broken pipes, they drive trucks.
Right. So AI, in its current 2026 form, is basically a knowledge worker toy. And it turns out the world isn't just entirely made up of knowledge workers.
Precisely. Until AI can physically fix a leaky sink or sue the crying baby or actually negotiate a complex real-world contract without hallucinating a bunch of fake legal precedents, the gray section of that chart is going to remain overwhelmingly gray.
So where does the chart go from here? Because we're looking at a snapshot of right now. Does the chart for 2027 or 2028 look any different?
That entirely depends on what the red dot people decide to do next. If they keep building tools that only optimize the workflows of the yellow people, the desk workers, then the chart stays exactly the same. The rich get richer, and the highly productive get more highly productive.
But if they actually figure out how to solve real, tangible problems for the gray mass.
Then the map turns green. Or yellow. And that is where the real economic opportunity lies. We spend all this time online debating which language model has a higher artificial IQ or which one passes the medical board exams faster. And honestly, it doesn't matter.
Because the 2,000 people hanging out in the banquet hall do not care about the medical board exam.
Exactly. The next $1 trillion of value isn't going to come from making a model 10% smarter for the guys writing Python scripts. It's in making the technology actually useful for the truck driver, the ICU nurse, the construction foreman. And not as a gimmick, but as a reliable everyday utility.
It really feels like we're standing at a pretty major crossroads. One path clearly leads to this hyper-stratified world where a tiny elite controls all the digital infrastructure and leverage. The other path leads to actual democratization of the tech. But we clearly are not on that path yet.
We aren't even close. The data proves it definitively. We are still firmly stuck in the exclusive club phase of this technological revolution.
So for the listener who is staring at their phone or their computer right now, you asked me during the break to have them place themselves on this chart.
It's a really useful exercise. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you green? Are you just playing around with the free tier? And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to recognize that you are just a consumer in this dynamic.
Or are you yellow? Are you paying that monthly productivity tax because it actually buys you real leverage in your career?
And if you are yellow, you need to lean into that heavily. You have a massive asymmetrical advantage right now that is not going to last forever. Being in that 0.3% is an incredible arbitrage opportunity while the rest of the world is still waking up.
And if you're in the red group, well, please be careful with what you're building out there.
Seriously, you are outnumbered 2,500 to 1, but you are holding all the keys to the kingdom.
It is just a wild dynamic. I keep going back to that wall of gray in my head. It's very humbling. We get so caught up in the AI safety debates on Twitter and arguing about AGI timelines, but 84% of humanity is just living their lives completely untouched by any of this.
It's a stark reminder that technology adoption is a sociological phenomenon. It's not just a technological one. You can build the smartest machine in human history, but you cannot force normal people to actually want it.
And maybe that's the final takeaway here. The resistance, or actually not even resistance, but rather the pure indifference of that gray mass is by far the strongest force on that chart.
Indifference is always the biggest competitor to any innovation. Always.
So here is a final provocative thought for you to chew on as we wrap up today's deep dive. If 84% of the world is still firmly in the gray in 2026, does the real power lie with the people who know how to use the tools like the yellows and reds? Or does the real power and opportunity lie with the person who finally figures out why the gray stays gray and fixes it?
I would definitely bet my money on the person who solves the gray. That is where the entire world is waiting.
The untapped majority. It's such a fascinating snapshot of where we actually stand today versus where the hype tells us we are. Huge thanks to our expert for breaking down the reality behind the data today.
Always a pleasure to pop the bubble.
And thank you for listening and joining us on this deep dive. Think about where you sit on that chart. We'll see you next time. Stay curious.